All right, now you should be able to hear us. All right, I'm Kenny Mullins,
Ralph Bennett.
And I'm Kayla Tyre.
aka Shiwi Model. If y'all didn't see the opening screen.
Inside joke. You'd have to understand. You have to be
Yeah,
there.
we'll tell y'all about that in a little bit. So, hi, Randy, Pat, Coda, Tony, Mike. So, we're here tonight. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, but we're going to talk about tracker development, handler development, and our mentorship and apprenticeship program. Just, can everyone hear us good? It was kind of delayed. Okay, finally someone responded. Thank you, Mike. All right, Ralph. So you want to tell us? You want to start us off with how our? So really, what we're talking about here is we have helped set up a mentorship program in Florida, and
Fixing to do it in Georgia.
fixing to do it in Georgia, and Michael Bragg in Alabama with Nose to the Ground. He has helped us as well. Um, he's adapted some of our aspects, and we've adapted some of his, and we're just going to talk about how that's went and go from there.
Yeah, and over the past few years, looking at all the problems we were having, and through the hunters' complaints or calls that we get, we started noticing that the dogs are not always the problem. And so we developed this so that we could start helping the handlers. And that's why all of our, even going over into testing, is geared as much towards the handler as it is towards the dog. So, because we're all a team out there with our dogs, so each side is equally beneficial, in the tracking scenario. And so tonight we're going to talk about the mentorship part, where we've implemented any new trackers, doesn't matter your level of experience, that we've enacted this process so that everybody has to go through it. Now, your experience level can get you through the process quicker, and that's with interaction with the mentor that you're placed with. And Jason Byers has done a great job keeping this, or starting this, and keeping it going to where he puts the mentor with the apprentice, and throughout the year going on tracks with each other, phone calls before you go to a track, and just total communication helps the apprentice get through the process, and hopefully it helps to let them know that there are some guidelines that the hunter should expect. And so that's why we implemented it. And as far as I can tell, I think it's been going wonderful. I've had 3 apprentices in the last 2 years, and Kayla here is the last apprentice I had, and I just think it's a wealth of knowledge for everybody to see how that needs to work throughout, a track. And we spend a lot of time on tracks with the apprentices, or at least I do, and it to me it helps a ton, because I think one of the worst things is for, especially a brand new tracker that's not had a lot of experience, them to go out there cold and they're just winging it all the time. That's tough. And sometimes I just go on a track and sit back and watch. So and we had Kayla come in because we wanted to, not just from our end of things, but from the apprentice end of things, to kind of give some of her experiences and what she thought about the mentorship program. And so that's why we.
I just wanted her on so I could share that picture of her Christmas gift. If you guys missed that, you need to go back to the beginning when we're done and look at that opening screen of that picture.
Supplied by her husband. So
yes, he's live in the audience here. So, Ralph, I think one thing this has done is cut down on a lot of the social media drama.
Yep.
One of the things that we implemented this year in Florida, and Michael Bragg has done it in Alabama, is we have put, so when someone requests a tracker, it requires approval, and we have a separate group, handlers group, where those tracks are put in there. And within that group, we have county chats. So when a track comes in for that county, it's placed into that county chat, and then it's dispersed from there. And what we do is we don't limit. So we're talking about the apprentices. We don't necessarily limit them from being able to take tracks per se. It just, the veteran or more experienced trackers have first opportunity. But if an apprentice sees that track come available, they can reach out and go with them. And I've taken people with me many times over the years. Before this was even implemented, I would leave my dogs in the box, let them run their dogs, and if we came up without the deer, we'd bring an experienced dog out, and just for backup. And everyone does it different. Sometimes I think it's best that these new trackers don't even work a dog, just sit back and watch. And I don't know if Jason's on, but he would share that. I've had some discussions with him. I've mentored the mentors, and I think it's been pretty successful myself. We're seeing a lot more quality trackers come out through the system. It's not perfect. There's no perfect system, but it's definitely cut down on the amount of social media drama in some of these groups. You get these people that just, oh, that's a dead deer, you don't need a dog, go get it. Oh, that blood's great, the deer's dead, and it's muscle blood. The deer's not going to die. It's cut down on a lot of that. And it's also, I feel like it's cut down on the competition side of things. Mm-hmm. Through these county chats, we have better communication.
Yep.
It's brought people together, more bonding. Overall, I think it's been great. I haven't heard of any real negative feedback from it. So Kayla, what do you think? I know you didn't experience it before.
I kind of did in the beginning of the season. We didn't have the county chats, so
Right.
I did see some of that. As soon as someone would post that they needed a dog or someone to help, it was competition amongst some of the trackers, and then you had people that didn't have trained, highly trained dogs, or even themselves as experienced tracker with a dog, making all kinds of comments that was not appropriate or not
Right.
at all what the situation was, and giving the hunter just bad information and saying negative things like you said, oh, that was a terrible shot, or why don't you shoot better? Like we don't need to hear that. They don't want to hear that. In that moment,
Right.
they want help. And I saw that in the beginning, and then when when you guys changed it to make it where the requests went to the county chats, and then the first available tracker, the people that are tracking in that community, in that county, were communicating with each other if they couldn't make it, or if they were on another track maybe 30 minutes away and someone else was available to get there sooner, or even depending on the situation, if it needed to lay overnight and get track in the morning, and that person that originally took it maybe had to go to work, they were communicating and being able to put the hunter at the best advantage. So I saw that work, and it also developed relationships among each other. So if we couldn't make it or needed help, we could call somebody for backup.
Right.
So it was really good. And if you were on a track and you needed help in a situation, you could comment back into the county chat and get other experienced trackers advice, and that was something that I saw develop too.
So have you seen, being involved in the behind the scenes, have you seen anyone trying to cherry pick tracks before they go into the chat?
No.
I haven't at all.
No.
I know that's a concern, and people think that happens, but I can assure you it does not happen. Not in our group, at least, I can tell you.
Most often I see that the people that are sharing the chat, even if they're available first, they let other people have the opportunity, and it's almost a disadvantage to the person sharing it, because even though you might be available, you don't want it to look like that.
Right.
So in fact, it's actually kind of been the opposite, where they're almost giving up the opportunity so it doesn't seem that way, but no, it's not been that way at all.
And the other thing it's allowed us to do is screen some of the stuff that's being posted. I posted something in the ABTA group last night. We have a lot of eyes on us as trackers, and yesterday I seen it was 5 or 6 states in the deer hunting groups. Questions come up about when does tracking become hunting with dogs? Well, I believe, and what I've read is that stems from some of the stuff they're seeing, some of these videos, some of these pictures, some of this verbiage being shared. And, although we all love to brag about our dogs and we love seeing good dog work, some of the people just doesn't understand what we do. And we've been able to combat that in Florida through this screening process and through this mentorship process, because we have the discussion with these people. Hey, I enjoy watching that, but some of the people out there might not understand what we're dealing with or what's going on, and we don't want that perception to be.
Probably one of the other big things that this did was only the people that are on the list go to the tracks.
Right.
It cuts out a lot of outside people that track but don't want to be on the list trying to steal the tracks. And if they need to be on there. They need to be on the list, because we haven't for a while, and it gets frustrating. So this has really helped in that department, to where people just aren't able to see the tracks till it's already taken, and that's helped a ton.
So why do we not want people that's not on the list taking the tracks? Is it because we're greedy?
Oh, heck no, it's the opposite. But we believe that the hunter is the main objective here. We need them to have the best chance at a successful recovery, and so we want to make sure all the trackers that are on our list or on any list, if somebody else takes on this method of approving trackers, we want to make sure as best we can that the tracker that's chosen or that asked to go on that track is qualified to do so. There's people that we have no idea who they are that try to get the tracks. That, to me, is just not what the networking system is for. If they want a track, they need to be on the list, and this process is where we implement that process to get them to the stage that they can be on the list.
And we don't discriminate either. I mean,
No.
some of y'all may not know him, but we have a very, very experienced tracker in Florida, Tim Cannon. He's been tracking a long time, phenomenal handler, phenomenal dogs, and he had to go through it. He went through it under me. And, it didn't take him at the time. We didn't have the process in place where you have to be in the system for a year. Then it was, someone with experience needed to go with you and see. And I knew before I showed up, I already knew. But I was going to do the right thing. I was going to follow the process. And we went out there, and he was a class act. He put on a great show as a handler. His dogs were phenomenal. And he was moved right along. Now we've implemented a year or a season, a minimum of one season, and the reason is because things can start to unfold over a further length of time that we may not see in that small window.
There are people that have moved up quicker than that. That just it's senseless to not let them be on the list because they've just outshined anything we could expect. So that there are situations, and I forgot about one of them that I was Travis, same way. He'd been tracking longer than I have, and he moved up quick. It's not to hold you back. We want you to be on that list as quick as everything is proven. That's what we're after. How quick you get there is, the amount of tracks we go on. And if any of the new trackers have turned in their application to do it and get put with a mentor, you need to hound them to go with them, because we get so busy sometimes we are not thinking about other people, calling, seeing who can go. We just go. So like Kayla, she knows she can call anytime. She knows if she sees something or call me. It doesn't matter to me. And I bet 75% of my tracks this year I had people with me. Apprentices or just other people. I enjoy that anyway, but it's just part of the game. If that isn't, speaking to anybody that is a mentor or has been asked to, if you don't like people going with you, you don't need to be a mentor, because that is a crucial part of that process to me.
Yeah, because like you said, rarely do we have an issue with dogs.
No.
It's almost always handler issues.
Yep.
And with our new process, with them having to be in that system for one season, it gives us time to really see how things go. Are they staying in communication? And don't get me wrong, these people are taking tracks. They are going on their own tracks. So it's not like we're holding them back, because, for instance, if I'm busy,
but they got to call us.
Right, they have to call. They have to stay in communication, and we like for them to talk to us before the track, during the track if needed, and after the track. Let's go over, what happened. Let's go over the details. Make sure you ask the right questions.
So my very first track in Alachua, that's what happened.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell on you a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So Kayla went on a track. She couldn't get a hold of Ralph. Ralph was her mentor. So she went for the better option and called me. No, so.
Well, I called you because you trained my dogs.
Right.
So,
But anyways, Kayla did a great job up until one point where she questioned the dog, and she gave up.
Yeah.
She thought that the dog was off, and I told her the dog's right. So we called in another team to support her, and she went along with him. And he called me and said, I don't know why she called me, because if she'd have just went 20 more yards, she'd have had the deer. But she learned something on that, and we all worked together. She spoke with you, Ralph. She spoke with me. Robbie Denton's the
Yeah.
one that went out and, and I think you learned some stuff from him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's a lot going on there and
we've had even her going with some on my tracks. I'll let her take the lead and talk or do some things, and even during the track, side by side talking exactly what I'm thinking, asking her what she thinks, catching little things that she might have missed, and I see something. And like one instance, we were on the track and we about 150 yards and everything looked fine on the blood trail. Camo was, and I had her dog and my two little dogs, and we got to a point and I just happened to see some blood and it had changed, and I saw a little bit of grit in it, and I picked it up and smelled it and said, oh crap, we got guts.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned to her and I said, smell that. Which, that's all great at the time, but it tells her you can't just look once at the hit site. You're always looking for something to change. And I said, oh crap, we're here too early. And I mean, it wasn't 2 seconds and Camo jumped. So I immediately pulled her off, and I told the guys, I said, I'll be back in the morning. And so we met back out there the next morning first thing, and roughly 200 yards, deer was dead. We had, let it lay back down, and it just little things like that is, and obviously she's a beginner, first year, first everything. So during the tracks, I'm constantly looking anyway, but I'm relaying to her what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and hoping that she's grabbing this stuff so that eventually she'll be able to have the confidence to do it on her own, because I've seen her on some things, and there again, not saying that, but at first she had a confidence problem just because she's new. She didn't feel adequate to talk to the hunters, and I said, control the track. That was probably my biggest saying this year. Control the track. Don't let them control you, so that you can work through this the best way you know how. And it's done well, and
Mm-hmm.
it's worked out good, and she started picking that up. And then as she started talking to hunters, calling me, telling me what's going on, I could see that confidence level had risen, and she was taking control of them, and it's pretty good. And just, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, thinking of different situations we've got into, but that's what the mentorship part does. Now, other trackers like Travis, he went with me, but I didn't need to say much of nothing. He knew what was going on, but
I guarantee he learned some stuff, and I guarantee you learned from him. We all learn. Iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
So it just, and every dog does something different. So everything, he's got some good dogs, but his dogs are different than my dog. Well, all of a sudden when we were going together, it was quick. We started learning different things about each other's dogs, and one day he might turn out his first. One day I might turn out mine based off of what the hit site or the situation is, and they work pretty darn good together. And it was, so yeah, every tracker's different, every dog's different, so it's constantly changing. There is no set method of doing this.
No.
And so every different apprentice I had, like this year I was working with 2, and their dog's different. So I'm having to learn their dogs as good as they can, so I can kind of keep track of what's going on. And
that makes you a better handler in the end too.
Yeah.
Because you're learning to read other dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Bozeman came over again today. He's been coming over to work with John and I for about a month now. Once a week he comes over and he'll help lay lines, help work dogs, and he was struggling with how to read his dog. And I mean, I picked up like that. I said, man, this dog is easy to read. And he looks at me like, what are you talking about? And I was able to give him clues on what to look for in his dog and know how to read it. So, just having a second set of eyes, or, we've been doing some videoing and going back and watching videos, and I'm like, wow, how did I miss that? So even, I've been doing this a long time. I learn every day, it's, but to me, I think the biggest asset to this is building those relationships. Yep. It's actually developing the network how it should be. And through this, we've seen, Ralph, I know you've seen it, we've seen some relationships rebuilt that had fallen apart and people went separate ways. Now we're working together. It's been tremendous for the state of Florida.
Yes, and to me, taking part of the competition out between trackers turns the focus more towards the hunter, which is where it should be. That's the reason we're doing it. It's not to outdo another tracker. It's to give the best situation at hand for the hunter. And that's the other reason why we've kind of been hard on the new trackers. This isn't a training program.
Right.
So, and the hunter doesn't need, they've called us specifically requesting, qualified dogs sometimes. They've shot the biggest deer of their life and they do not want a new person coming. Well, this has really turned more of the focus on the hunter, in my opinion. And the new tracker's welcome to go with us. And she's been on a ton with me this year. And I've been with her on her tracks.
I'm sorry.
And it just works out. Jason Altman's.
Yeah, Jason commented earlier. He said he spoke with you more this year than his wife.
I know.
Yeah. So it just, I don't know. It's just part of, which I love it anyway. So it's I eat, breathe, and sleep it. So it's just fun to me, and it's fun to get new people started, and but doing it, and also doing it the right way. Throwing the ethics in and throwing some things in that, no,
right.
This is the way you should do things, or if they have questions, just hopefully steer them in the right direction so that it just makes for a successful track. And that doesn't always mean it's a recovery. There's still, darn 30 to 40% of your tracks are not going to be recovered. So, if not more,
right.
So there's still a right way to handle every situation.
And those are the times where you really need to know how to handle the.
Yeah, those are even worse. The ones you don't recover. The ones you recover, nobody cares what happened. It's the ones you don't recover. That's when they need to leave with confidence.
Right.
When you recover the deer, you could have done 10 things wrong. It don't matter. They don't remember nothing except you found my deer.
Yep.
So.
Well, it's like Kim and James. They tracked for a long time, and they were sitting at the hunting camp with me. We were having dinner, and Kim says, "How are you not spending so long on tracks?" I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, the ones you don't find, I'm spending 2, 3, 4 hours out there, and I've noticed over the years you cut that back to 30 minutes to an hour maybe." I said, because before I get there, I set the tone. When they give me the description and I feel like that deer is still alive, I'm up front with them. If they give me all the descriptions that it's a back whack, I'm gonna tell them, hey, this is the percentage of recovery or the odds of recovery I'm willing to come because you don't know unless you go. And we went on one this year. I called Josh Eads to go with me, and I told Josh up front, I said, this might be a waste of time. Everything sounds like a back whack. The deer hit the ground, it laid there, kicked for a few seconds, and then got up and left. Well, I was up front with the hunter. I said, look, the odds are not in your favor. I said, but I'm willing to come, and we're going to try. That deer was dead within 300 yards. But I set the expectation of that deer may not be recovered because of the details before I went. Just like my dog Dixie, you've seen it, Ralph. I told the hunter on a track that we went on, she goes out there and she knows that deer is going to live, and she can't get that deer. She's going to come up, she's going to jump up on me, she's going to jump up on you, and she's going to say, hey, that's her cue to say this deer's going to be fine. And if I tell the hunters that beforehand, they're more receptive. Mm-hmm. And that's something that a lot of people just doesn't know how to handle that situation on the phone before you even go. And that'll turn a non-recovery track into 30 minutes to an hour instead of 3 or 4 hours.
Kayla, has there been anything that you can think of, that specific situations that might help some other new trackers that you've experienced this year?
I can think of a few. Let's see. So my thought of what blood looked like where it was hit was different coming in than now at the end. So every track, has been, every one of them are different, but consistently, if it's gut, what to do, what it looks like. If it's liver, dark blood, what to do, what that looks like. If it's bright red muscle blood, kind of what to expect, what to look like, what it looks like. All those specific instances I've been able to take a lot of the information and relay that to friends of mine, other people that are hunters, people in my hunt club. It's totally changed the way we track deer now as a more successful recovery. So things I didn't know beforehand and I've learned now that have just completely changed how we approach going after a wounded deer. That's been probably the biggest thing I've learned. And I've learned a lot more than that, but wait times, how important wait times are.
Right. And one thing too is I'll still go. Like someone tells me back, I'm not going to screen that call unless I have to, unless I'm so backed up. I'm going to go just for the opportunity to educate the hunters. Because like we were talking about, if you go into our American Blood Trackers Association group, you guys can request to join on there. The conversation we had, like I was talking about earlier, one of the things that got brought up is what we need to do is educate each other as trackers on how to handle things, but through that we're going to educate the hunters, and as we educate the hunters, they're going to educate more people. So it's a trickle down effect. So I take every opportunity I can to educate these hunters because they just don't know, and they won't know unless someone teaches them. Just like you said, you learned. I mean, How many times have you been called and said, or sent a picture, there's bubbles in the blood, or they post online, like we were talking about earlier, they post a picture on Facebook, there's bubbles in the blood. Everyone says, oh, go get that deer, it's dead, that's the lungs. No, it's not. Yeah. But they don't know. Yeah. So we have to educate them.
Probably the biggest, to me, and new trackers have better grasp onto it. In my experience, the worst thing we run into is hunter anxiety, wanting to get in there fast, and anything pushing the deer. That's going to push the deer, but some other situation, they might have a great blood trail and they're pushing deer because they didn't wait. And so educating them, it seems like, it'll never get to every hunter, but it's getting to every hunter I deal with. That is pretty much part of the conversation. And next thing you know, they're telling their friends. So it's almost to a point now to where I cannot believe some people still do some of the stuff they do, but they still do it. It's just unbelievable. And so you got to realize what you're going to face too, because it's going to happen. We can almost, me and Jason Bell track a lot together, and we can sit on the phone or sit in the truck together and go, they're not going to wait. We've told them, and they are not going to wait.
So one tactic that I do is if they're pressuring to rush, I'll say, okay, I'm going to get ready and I'm going to be on my way, and I drag it out. And so what may take me an hour to get there, I'm taking an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then when I get there, I sit around and I talk with them for a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe another hour, and then we'll get started and I'll take a break with the dog. I've learned how to handle those people and to drag that out, you know, and that's something, and most of the time they don't even know we're doing that.
No.
You know, they don't have a clue. They just think, man, this guy, is he ever going to get here? And they'll call, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm running a little bit behind, but I'm on my way, and I'm taking my time and I'm dragging it out. You know, and that's, so you wouldn't have known to do that if you didn't talk to me. You know, if you were just new, you'd have no clue.
Yep.
And there again, part of this, we have to educate our fellow trackers. Just because someone wants to go now, if I talked to them and I said, hey, that is liver shot, we need to wait 4 hours, well, then they pick up the phone and they call Mike Alguire and say, hey, you know, I need a deer track, sends the pictures. Well, then Mike calls me and says, hey, he sends me a picture. He says, hey, what do you think of this? I said, that's liver shot. He said, that's what I thought. I told him 4 hours. I said, well, I already talked to him. I told him the same thing. Well, then another team ended up going in early, and I found out who was going. I called him, hey, you're walking into a liver shot. I don't know if they didn't get the same. I think what happened is the hunter realized he spoke to two people. He sent pictures of that blood, and then he said, well, I don't want to wait 4 hours. I'm going to call someone else. I'm not going to send them the picture. But now we've built that relationship, that tight-knit group where we're all in communication, and it gets around.
Well, it does, but also that's one of the big things that needs a little more work, in my opinion, is getting amongst that group to find out if other people have been called.
Right.
Because those hunters get smart, and they will tell two different trackers two different things.
Yep.
Just to get somebody there. They might, something in their life might require it. Well, that shouldn't dictate when we come.
Right.
Those wait times should be adhered to.
Yep.
And not that, not that it's a steadfast, just absolute all the time, but you got to go by them sometime, or the majority of the times, or it's going to kick your butt.
That's right.
You go after a gut shot too quick, it's going to prove out to be not in your favor most of the time.
That's right.
And so, same way with the liver. But there are some that still will go and not call people on these little chats. Everybody's on them. You can get on there and say, hey, has anybody talked to this guy?
Right.
And
that's happened a lot.
They post.
Yep.
You got to be careful. The people on the list, y'all got to be careful, because I've had it happen to me. I've been trying to get a tracker for somebody, and next thing you know, they went and posted, and somebody took the track, and they're going, and I'm sitting there going, holy crap, that's a gut shot. And
That's
they're
right.
already going, well, I don't know what the hunter told me.
Right.
But I ask enough questions to find out the correct answer. And so when you're on this chat, it would behoove you to talk to the people to make sure somebody else hasn't talked to them. That doesn't mean they're always going, but at least talk to them, get the best information you can, because obviously we get to see the front end of things and the behind the scenes more than anybody, and it definitely is not perfect, but it's uncontrollable stuff. We can't control who the hunter calls. He might be calling off the list and posting also. So you got kind of two different things working at the same time. And next thing you know, I'm working a call to try to get somebody, and somebody's already committed to the track.
Right.
And I'm still calling.
Right.
Next thing you know, all that was wasted. So
yep.
And anybody can do that that's on the list trying to help each other.
You want to take a break and let's go over some of these comments, because there's some from way back, and then we'll work down the comments, and then we'll get back to discussing some more things. So let's see here. Wyatt Patterson, if someone is already listed on GBTN, would they still need to go through the mentorship program? So the way we did it is we started from this day forward. If you were on the list, you'll be on the list, but anyone from this point forward would not, or they'd have to go through that process. Chuck Darby.
While you're looking, Georgia is becoming we had to just cut it off last year.
Yes, we did.
It became a big problem with every new tracker under the sun wanting to be on the list, and it was getting out of hand. So we just cut off the new trackers, and no new trackers will be added till they go through the mentorship program. Now, we haven't implemented it yet, but it's coming.
Right.
And so the tracker list as it is will probably stay for another year while the apprentices do like we did in Florida, and they'll start going through the process.
Right.
So we don't have a whole lot of answers yet, other than we've learned from Florida for the last 2 years, and it'll probably be the same way up there.
Yeah, because we've got it down. Chuck Darby said he thinks it's a wonderful idea. Let's see. It's definitely, Jason Altman says, it's definitely a great way to learn. Was that a doodle she had? Yes, it was, or is. Kayla's mother-in-law here. She's awesome. We agree most of the time. Randall Duvall is watching. Randy's my hero. Let's see. Teamwork for dream work. Absolutely. Chuck Darby said it's like a double-edged sword, is that some people don't actually know what the dogs are capable of, and on the other side, there's some out there that don't want to see it. And he's talking about, that was when we were talking about my post from yesterday. And Chuck, you're right. I mean, I think we're, like we said, we need to promote the conservation side of things and the ethical recovery of game. We know what happens. Successful recovery with a vetted handler and dog team. Absolutely, that's what we're looking for and promoting. It has caused a lot of issues in Mississippi with several different groups, and hunters post on several different groups and have several different handlers on the way at one time. And when one gets there, they call the other trackers and tell them they have someone there. That does happen. Mm-hmm. We don't have as many groups here in Florida. We do have there's a couple that broke off and created their own thing, so it does happen. But for the most part, we've got that under control. We've done the whole network has done a good job of.
Well, hopefully it's because we're becoming more reliable every year.
Right.
As far as dependability, reliable, quality of the trackers and stuff like that, to where, and that's the goal, is just to make it as good as it can be.
Right. Never
going to be perfect, but we're striving for that.
You just want control.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much.
Exactly.
We want to control the bad stuff.
Yep.
And so, call it what you want, but that is exactly.
Yep.
Cut out the crap. And so, it's working.
Oh, yeah.
To me.
So Cameron LaRocca said, I can definitely relate to the confidence part with being new to it. We were just talking about Cameron's dog, and I told you we had a GSPN. Cameron's got a good dog. Jason Byer said, different dogs for different occasions. Absolutely. And that's where the networking part comes in these chats. And, we talk about different situations where, Kaylee, you may not have the right dog for this particular situation. So you'll make that call and say, hey, I'm not the right team for you, but this person is. And we work together and get the right, and we'll team up together.
Right.
I've even I bring dogs in. I bring somebody else in if something needs, where I can't handle it. But I'm going to stay there. I enjoy it, so I'm going to stay, and we're going to finish the track.
That's right.
And so, it works well. And
oh yeah,
you get dependable people. They're all willing to help.
So Ernie John says, networking is the biggest improvement I've seen this year. It's been a blessing for me and for even helping convince the hunter you're confident in your decision. I spoke with Ernie a lot this year. I've worked with Ernie this year. I've seen tremendous growth in Ernie as a handler, and it's
even you have called to back up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
I've called new teams to back me up.
Yeah.
I'm not. Believe me, I'm not afraid to call someone to back me up. Ralph's still trying to find one behind me, so every time he jumps and comes. So Lyle Avis says, spot on, realistic expectations, and teach the hunter as we go so they know what to look for and talk constantly about what I'm seeing. Typically, I have talked to the hunter and explained enough that they call the track off and not me. And that's correct. If you give them the right information, you educate, they're going to call it. I mean, because you set the tone before you even get there. And then when you get there, you show them what you're looking at. And a lot of times I'll show them pictures and just educate them. And then next thing you know, they're calling it. Mike Alguire said, that's what I do. I tell the hunter if the dogs come back to me and stay at my feet, we might as well load up and head home. Does your dogs leave your feet, Mike? I mean, what happens if there's not biscuits on the trail? So like you said, set the hunter up for a possible non-recovery so they know what to expect when it happens instead of looking like we are making excuses. Absolutely. And again, that goes back to confidence. If you're confident in what you're telling them, they're less likely to question what you're saying. You have to be confident. Jason Byers replying to Lyle says, yes, sir. Just like Kenny said earlier, educate the hunter. Ben Bruce, got to trust your dog and learn to read your dog. Took me most of the season to figure out mine because we had so many deer we jumped at first of season from bad shots. That will make you doubt everything when you get a bunch like that in a row. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I spoke with Ben about this, and I believe you did, Jason Bell did. I will say this. Trusting the dog, you should trust your dog, but you need to verify that dog. And what you said there is trust your dog and learn to read your dog. I think learning to read the dog is more important than the trust side, because if you can't read your dog, you can't trust your dog. You don't know what your dog's telling you. So that to me comes from the training in the off season.
That's in my opinion one of my favorite things is the part where you're reading the dog. Kayla can attest. She blinks her eye, I know what's going on. It's just fun to me. That is right. The funnest part of working dogs is being able to read them. So if you aren't to that level, get to that level, because man, things get fun at that point.
And I promise you, if you're near me, even if you're not, if you want to come work with me, I promise you I will help you teach, or I will teach you how to read your dog or any dog. We always have a kennel full of dogs to work. Travis Bozeman, like I said, he's been coming. Jacob Thomas has came many times. Jason Byer has came. We welcome anyone to come work with us, and we're willing to help teach you how to read a dog, read your dog.
And I'm sure you see it with the testing now. we get to see more dogs.
Right.
And it's funny to sit back and we can pick up on something that the owner isn't picking up on. And it's because you've learned to read dogs, and it's fun. And you can
Right.
go, that dog's fixing to hit it, or he's off of it, but he's fixing to come back and hit it by the way he's acting. And the owner doesn't even know it.
Right.
He's not to that level yet, but I hope they get there, because that is a confidence booster when you know what your dog's doing, and when it boom does, like for instance, Travis has Bear, and he's got a certain way he wags his tail. Boo, he knows it, and if he does it, we're going to that dog right then, right now.
Yep.
And it's just a little bit of a wag, and he's got his tail cut off because he's just it's funny, and you can see a smile come on Travis's face when his dog does a certain thing, and boy, we'll head on. And same way with mine, he's gotten to know my dog.
And Camo's
where he
prance.
knows,
Camo's prancing.
So it just, I don't know, it's fun.
It is.
It's a blast to watch dogs and figure them out. So that is, like you said, the off season, you can
Right.
get a lot of that with just watching them on mock tracks. Don't always, might be getting off subject, but like the mock tracks, sometimes it's better pull them off to see how they're going to act when they get back.
Oh yeah.
Not just let them run it all the time and hope they did it perfect all the time. That isn't always the way things are. Them being off of a track, seeing them come back and what they act like, because if you know where your line is, I've put flags down for people so they know where the line is, and their dog be off of it, and I said, all right, they're fixing to hit it, watch your dog, watch him. And boom, something changed. You knew where that line was. Well, out in the world, out on a real track, you don't know where that line is. And you've got to determine where that line is based off of how your dog's acting. And it's just, so there's some little things that teach handlers what to do too on these mock tracks. You don't want it to be perfect every time.
Right.
And to me, I'm looking for the negatives in a track so that I can tell when it turns positive. And that's just, I don't know, that is a great attribute to a handler, is to be able to read that dog. And there's just a ton of ways you can do that.
Chris Wilson said, I drug a track out 7 hours this season. It wound up being gut shot. So at the end, he was glad I drug my feet. Let's see. TR Pate said 2 trackers showing up same track, but it happens. And our system has definitely helped with that. Wyatt Patterson, that is a question I ask every time. I always ask if they've already contacted another tracker. The one time I didn't, it was a mess, and another tracker grabbed a track I had already committed to. And that has happened a bunch, and we've had some, and I know the instance he's talking about. I've had the same issue with the same person, and we're working with that, and it happened a few more times, but I think we're making progress there. Mike Barron, I ran into that. Now I ask on the phone if they have talked to any other tracker. That's great. Casty, and when in doubt, give it more time than you think it needs. Time's on your side. Absolutely. I get so tired. And I'm seeing it with some trackers constantly saying, oh, well, they have a lot of coyotes. They have a lot of predators. I have tracked hundreds and hundreds of deer. And I can confidently say, I'd have to look at my notes, less than 10%, probably less than 5% has had coyote damage.
Yeah. To me, there's no question, given the odds between coyotes getting it or pushing it too early, you're going to push it too early way more than the coyotes are going to get it.
Absolutely.
If you wait. And
in our area, I can't talk about.
I've also had coyotes hit it within an hour.
And hogs.
So it isn't always a waiting problem. It's just, I don't know, I've implemented this year, and I'm not saying I'm right, But I tell everybody 2 hours. You can't give me a reason to go, in my own personal opinion, 2 hours. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. And I have yet to have somebody be able to tell me a reason to go in 2 hours. I can give you a ton of reasons not to go in 2 hours. And that just gives you a scenario of, wait, give it some time. They think 30 minutes is good. 30 minutes is nothing to an injured deer. They're going to jump and they're going to run unless they're dead, but they're going to still be dead in 2 hours, so it's not a big deal.
Right. And there are times, I mean, we had one this year, I made the call, you know, they had intestinal sign, and I said, look, we need to wait. And they agreed we needed to wait. And we got there, the hogs had already ate the deer. Right. But that doesn't happen very often. It does happen, but, you know, the odds are in your favor to wait.
And that's when you're going by the statistics.
Right. And that's what we need to do for ethical recovery.
Oh, that's a good question by Philip.
So Jason Byer said, what I have done a couple of times this year is when I have found out that another tracker got called and they called me, we will both show up. That's great. You know, I think that's a good idea. Mike Alguar, I think a lot of the issue is some trackers are trying to make a name for themselves, so they are jumping the gun early and going in way too soon, and then tracking in another tracker's backyard and don't even make a call to trackers that are 10 minutes away and they are making an hour drive. You know, those are all great key points. A lot of the problem with some of this stuff being put on social media, some of these videos, is people trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to market their dogs and pound their chest and say, look at me. Well, you know what? Just keep finding deer, and that's all you need to do. You find deer, word gets out, word of mouth is the best. You know, and as far as tracking other people's backyard, I've been guilty of it. You've been guilty of it. We all have. I mean, it happens. You know, we just, sometimes we don't even think, but more times than not, and Mike will tell you, Jason will tell you, Randy will tell you, I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call that closer tracker and say, hey, I got a call in your area. Do you want to go or do you want to tag along with me? Randy and I went on one this year. I called him. He said, no, I really don't feel like going, but if you're going to come up here, I'd like to at least meet up with you at the track, and we tracked it together. Let's see. Philip says, what are the facts we need to be able to tell the trackers when they come? What do y'all need to know? So every tracker is going to ask those questions, but we like to know what time it was shot, what it was shot with, how the deer was facing. Was it broadside? Was it quartered away? Where do you think you hit it?
Have you been in the woods?
Have you been in the woods? How far did you track? Have you had another dog? Have you spoke to another tracker?
And be honest, because our dogs will make a liar out of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let me just, a lot of people don't understand, they like grid searching. I know my dogs and most dogs that I know, they don't have a problem with the human scent. It's the transferring the scent from the real trail that the deer's on that you might not see because there's no blood. We're going off the interdigital scent or the pheromone scent, and you've transferred it. You've moved it one way, then you've come back and you went the other way 50 yards. I had a track up in Georgia that me and Jason went on, and the guy said he didn't even go in the woods. Didn't go look for it. All of a sudden, Camo went out, come back. She went over a few degrees, went out, and come back. I looked over at him and I said, you walked in the woods, didn't you? And he went, yeah, kind of like he was embarrassed that I asked him. And I said, it's not a problem if you tell us that. We have ways to work around a contaminated area, and we'll work it out.
That's right.
But we waste time finding out that they lied to us. We're gonna figure it out. It just takes a lot longer.
Every time.
And I've had guys when I look down at my GPS and it looked like a spider web, where I've literally had a guy say, we did not go past last blood, and then we met up with his son. Dogs were going everywhere, and his son said, oh yeah, he had 7 guys out here last night looking.
Yeah.
You know, just tell us the truth. That's probably as big a statement to tell the trackers. Nobody's going to turn you away because you grid search, or at least I'm not.
I'm not.
But I'm going to approach things differently, and everybody can based on the dog, and it'll work out better, quicker, and you'll have a more successful track if we know the truth. That's, to me, the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And I mean, asking them if they've already looked for blood, like what they see. So if it's, you know, what kind of blood, what kind of hair,
Take
bone.
pictures.
Yeah.
Oh,
love
yes,
seeing
pictures.
of blood anywhere. I've talked to a lot of them, and they didn't even take pictures. Man, take pictures, send it to us,
Mm-hmm.
because we might see something that you might not even see it in the picture.
Well, that's like our last seminar. I shared a picture, and you know, I asked people in the audience to analyze it and see where they thought it was hit. And I think I asked 4 or 5 people. One person noticed two small pieces of white hair, and I'll give him a shout out. It was Ken Parker. So all the people in there, no one noticed those 2 small pieces of white hair, and he hit it spot on.
Yep.
Well, what ends up happening, I get pictures from trackers daily. Hey, what do you think about this blood? What do you think about this? Joey McDonald sent me one the other day. Hey, what do you think about these little white specks? Joey's a great tracker, phenomenal tracker, you know, and he wasn't sure, he hadn't seen it, and I wasn't 100% positive. I had seen it before, and I told him what my experiences were, but you know, that helps, and you know, we all work together to analyze these things. So definitely send pictures.
Yep. One of the I had a track this year, but the pictures with the white hair, and then you're going to even dig into it a little more. How long is the hair?
Right.
Because that'll tell you where, from front to back, where the deer was hit, because hair only grows a certain length on certain parts of the body.
Yep.
And so, and we had one this weekend that the guy called and sent pictures. The tracker had it, I had a picture, Kenny had a picture, and it really placed the shot. It was on the one where the long white hair
with the little piece of meat,
but it had a piece of meat on it, and we all come to the conclusion it was in the back, and the meat come from the ham, and the hunter thought it was a frontal shot. The length of the hair was not frontal, it was towards the back. And so little things like that, man, it's just awesome to see a picture of that stuff and not seeing that. And we even thought, forget gut. Now we're back, if it's into the hams, we're back into the intestines. And so it really, and you know, y'all know as good as I do, 2 inches movement from guts to intestines is just a world of difference in the type of track you're fixing to hit.
Yeah, and they were in a hurry to get someone out there.
Oh yeah, they were dying to get somebody.
Yeah.
And that's a group of people that we've worked with for years on developing a relationship, and they were still in a hurry. So Cameron LaRocca says, I don't necessarily want to be on the list quite yet, but I definitely want to tag along as much as I possibly can. Cameron, get with Jason Byer. Jason will help get you hooked up with trackers in your local area, and I'm sure they would love for you to tag along. You know, Cameron's got a good dog, and he's eager to learn, and we need to help him out. So Jason, please help with that. And Jason's done a great job with this program. You know, I can't thank him enough. It's been good. Paul, shout out to this crew. Thank you. Travis Wilson and I are on the way to track 1 on Lake Lanier. Good luck, Coda and Travis. Tony says, Doodle tracker here. Does bloodline matter as much as the training when getting a new pup? I don't think bloodline matters as much as the training, but bloodline absolutely can make a difference. And you see it more so with how they develop through the training. So it can make a difference. I'm not saying bloodline is everything, and there are exceptions, but overall, bloodline can make a significant difference.
I would always, to me, I'm not a breeder, but a working bloodline is crucial to me.
Right.
That's the part that throws that extra fight in the dog that, for what we do.
That's right. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, shoot me a message. I've worked with a lot of breeders, a lot of different bloodlines. If you have something specific, I'll gladly help you out.
I mean, just like you getting multiple different types of dogs for different type of people, but they're all working lines.
Right. I'm new to this. How do I get started in Washington State? Ooh, that's a good question.
Move to Florida.
No. Shoot us a message. We will help you with that. And I will give you my phone number. Just shoot us a message. I'll send you my phone number, and I will gladly help you. TR Pate, where do you get track shoes from? It depends on what kind you want. I personally use the Wascow shoes from Darren Miner, and TR. I can shoot you his contact information. Just shoot me a text or give me a call. I got to talk to you anyways. Can y'all talk about how to keep a dog that's been trained sharp during the off season? We will definitely do that. Let's plan. We can plan that on the future show.
All right.
And attend one of these seminars. We will definitely go over this in the seminar. Paul, I'm not sure where you're located, but if you let us know, we can let you know when a seminar is coming up.
I actually sent the one in Stockton to Paul. Paul already knows about it.
Okay.
So
Where's
okay.
he at?
he's here. He's in St. Augustine.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I
So-
didn't recognize the last name.
Yeah, it's okay. So yeah, I'm trying to get him to come. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, Paul,
for
you
him.
need to come. You can give me a call too, and I'll help you out. But I think you would benefit more by attending the seminar.
100%.
Philip, what are the things you've learned to bring on the track with you through learning a tough season? I'd like for you to answer that one. Let's see how Ralph's been doing.
Well, I will say probably the number one thing you need to have besides your dog, a Garmin and the collar, right? So you can track your dog if you're doing it off lead. Not everybody does off lead.
Even on lead, I feel like you should have one, because if it slips a collar, slips a harness.
Well, and you can see where your track is laid. But
Ask Mike Aguirre about that.
I've had it happen too.
Yeah, I have too.
Chaps, snake chaps. I had to get some of those. The first few tracks were not fun. Just number one, to protect yourself in case you are coming and you do have a snake. But
briars.
I'm able to blow through big bushes and briars so much faster by having those than having to, wrestle through terrible briars. So I do have a walking stick. I have fallen. I have caught myself from falling. A knife for sure, in case you do need to use it for any reason or help your hunter. In some instances, I do have a handgun, but I particularly don't care. I don't use it. It's during, obviously, for gun season. You don't want to use it during bow season, general gun. And I have learned also to make sure that everybody communicates about who's taking that shot, if it needs to be taken with a deer, before we go out there. Making sure that the hunter knows I do not want him to shoot with my dogs out in front or with the deer out in front. We did have a situation where people's dogs have been shot, and I don't.
And people's been
and
shot.
people. But safety first, obviously, with bringing a handgun.
So
we
there's
will also go over this. That will be
Yeah.
one of the categories in our seminar.
that'll be a couple of categories.
Is the equipment.
Yep.
Um,
The most important thing.
Most
You're
important
forgetting
thing.
the
Well,
the
I'm not
most
forgetting.
important
So I
thing.
bring water.
There
I
you
also bring
go.
water in my backpack. I have a backpack that's full. Oh my goodness, I've got all kinds of things in there.
especially at the beginning of the season.
Yes,
Right.
especially in the beginning when it's hot, not just for myself, but for my dog as well. And I have a backup case in the truck so that if we run out, or as soon as we've run out a lot of the times on the track, so I have to go back to the truck and, for myself and for the dogs. And a flashlight. Sometimes we're tracking at night.
I was waiting for it. That was going to be my
Headlamp.
next one.
I had a pretty crappy $60 Home Depot headlamp, and I invested in a very bright. I mean, I can light the whole woods up with this light. So I did invest in a very good headlamp.
I've never seen a time where more light was bad.
No,
Yeah.
especially if it dies when you're
Yeah.
out there, and then you're just using your phone. That's terrible. That didn't happen to me, but.
It has happened to me. I'm not going to lie.
Talking about the lights, I upgraded this year to one that Jeff Rittenauer had last year.
The coon light.
That's
with a laser on it, and
Yep.
man, it's got different phases. You can floodlight, you can spotlight. I got a laser on it, and people have asked me like, "What do you use the laser for?" Well, when you're trying not to scare the deer or alert the deer, Jeff, and that's what made me buy it. He flipped that light off and he turned that laser on and he just moved it and said the deer's right there, and we were in a field, and then he flipped the light on when the dogs got there, and I mean, it was wonderful. Well, I got one.
And with that said, yours has the red light
Mhm.
also.
Yep.
A red light,
Red, yellow, and white.
Yep.
that red, you can get up there if you need to on that deer and not
Yep.
spook them near as
So
bad.
it's cool.
Yep.
Having the right equipment, to me, I'm an equipment freak anyway. I love it. I
Oh,
get
yeah.
into it because I like situations where my equipment is what pushes me ahead
Yep.
through some stuff that typically wouldn't help you. And
this is stuff we're going to go over at the seminar.
Yeah.
I would definitely be there. You don't want to miss out. Sam McNair, thankful for you all. Good one, you all, for getting this organization up and going. Thank you, Sam. We really appreciate it. This is a lot of work. I don't think a day goes by that we're not working on this.
yeah, I didn't know I had.
I don't even know if an
I
hour
didn't know
goes
I
by.
had to talk to you this much.
I know. Believe me. Woo. Randy Vick, my dog had a gimped leg from a deer hit. I called Jason, Byer, and Jeff to handle a broken leg for me, networking its best. Randy and I have been networking for years before there was any other trackers around, and it's definitely a great thing.
What's that one from Saint?
Yeah, I'm getting down there. Mike, no, they don't leave my feet much, just have them for show. I'm the one actually doing the tracking. Hey, we have seen trackers do that. Oh, sorry. All right, now I got it hard to read. So Sam McNair, what is your experience after a deer goes through a pond? I had a really hard time the other day determining if the deer was still in the pond, under the water, or if it exited. Have you seen blood and scent reduce a lot after it exits the water? No.
I
No.
think it helps.
Yep. And as far as the water, it also depends on, is it a pond? Is it a lake? Is it still? Is it flowing? Most time if it's a pond and you work your dog all the way around on that dry land, it doesn't pick up on something, it's probably in that water. More times than not. Chuck, if Josie, my dog, comes back and shakes her head and starts scratching off on the ground, she is telling me that we aren't going to get that one. That's right. Every dog I've ever owned has a sign. has a way of telling me, hey, we're not going to get this one. Otto will come sit and look up at me like, what do you want me to do? You know, it just, they all have their sign. You just have to learn to read that, and that just comes from time in the woods staring at your dog's butt. Steven, y'all helped me with a couple deer this year. It was a blast watching the dogs and the way y'all handle them.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, looking for the negatives to see the positives. That's powerful. Picking up on the negatives are key. Absolutely. Chris Wilson, I made the mistake of taking a track in Lake Park, and I never considered the Florida network, and Kenny had committed. I called Kenny and spoke to him about it and explained myself, and believe me, I didn't want to go to it. At that time, I said, take it, Chris. If you need help, let me know. Brandon Granberg, work the edge of the pond all the way around. Yeah, there you go. Hey, and you know, speaking of Brandon was one of the first to really go through our process. And Brandon, we actually blocked Brandon from the group because of some things that happened. And Brandon teamed up with me, and I reported back to Ralph. I said, hey, this guy's good. He's got it. He's eager. He's willing to work with me. And Brandon has turned into one of our top teams. I mean, he is phenomenal. Just a solid guy.
Yep.
See, Chris was, if you push a deer, there's more of a chance a coyote will cross the wounded deer's track. Absolutely. That's something I don't explain enough. I appreciate that, Chris. Randy, if you push, the coyotes will be much more likely to cut the track. There you go, another one. Brian Paul, a big confidence booster for me this year was having a few tracks behind a drone and a drone coming in behind me. Whew, that's a whole nother topic, and we are going to have a session on that because that's something that needs to be discussed. And I want to touch on it a little bit real quick, and then we'll move on. I personally do not feel that we need to fight against the drones. I feel we need to.
They're coming.
We need to embrace it, and we need to educate those guys. If they're, most of them have been receptive. We've dealt with one. He's very receptive. Mm-hmm. He's worked with us. All three of us worked
together on that one.
And so, it's here. Not that it's coming. It's here. I mean, the technology's there. There's a place for it. Oh no.
Internal temp too high.
That's not good. Well, they can still hear us. Not sure why that happened. We did not have this last time. Well, we're going to continue talking. Not sure. Might because there
we go.
All right. So, absolutely, we need to embrace it and educate. Can you? It says, oh, that's it's delayed. Can you all discuss how long it actually takes for a deer to spoil? They always love to say the meat's going to be bad if you wait that long. I can tell you this, in all my years of tracking in Florida, in the heat, I've seen one deer spoiled. One. And I've recovered them in bow season when it's 90 degrees out at 30 hours old and meat not spoiled.
The big key is nobody knows when the deer died.
Exactly.
And that's where people want to push the wait times because of the heat. Well, once again, just like we compared the coyotes to the wait times or the pushing of a deer, well, spoiling of the deer versus pushing, I'll take the wait times proved to have more success than hurrying up because of some other reason like the heat or coyotes or something like that. I don't either. I never make decisions. I shouldn't say never. I never, on a big percentage, never make decisions based off of the heat.
Right.
At all.
And that seems, those decisions, and you hear that a lot more in the North, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just a different mindset. We're used to it here. So, but yeah, that's something we really need to discuss more and educate the hunters more. For sure. We do. Thank you for that. Let's see, we did hit a scent trail on the other end of the pond, but didn't have permission to keep going, but my dog did trail the scent. That happens. Joey McDonald, I ran one today, shot yesterday evening, was told they stopped at last blood. It was a gut shot. After starting the track, I was wondering why my dogs were scrambling all over the place until 20 minutes later, one of them started lining out. Then it hit me that they had to have grid searched it. I just found out after getting home that a new handler tried afterwards with no luck. Knowing none of this, I was second guessing where it was hit, but based off the reaction, of course, let them work 1.1 miles on the collar. They found the deer 215 yards from the hit site. Coyotes had just found it.
Wow.
You know, sharing that says a lot about Joey.
Yep.
All the tracker has is reputation. Absolutely, Randy. And that reputation is earned by time in the field, not by what you post on the internet.
Yep.
Chris Wilson, if someone calls a different team, I don't care one bit. I don't go around ticking, I'm just going to say, or peeing on bushes marking my territory. There's plenty of tracks to go around. Absolutely. Prime example, and just in my area, within an hour, we have Randy Vick, Mike Alguire, Jason Byer, Jeff Rittenauer, Josh Eads, myself, Brandon Granberg, Ernie Johns, Jacob Burnt, and most of us are tracking over 100, 200 deer a year. There's no shortage. And the more trackers we get, the more tracks there are. It's crazy. I mean, there's no reason to be greedy. They grid search for 4 hours, Joey said. If a hunter tells you they went in the woods for only 50 yards, I'm willing to bet they went 100 yards. Mm-hmm. So, funny story. This is about 7 years ago. I got a phone call. Maybe been 6, 7. It was about 7 years ago. The hunter says, "Yeah, we trailed at 350 yards. We put toilet paper at every drop of blood." And I told Brandy on the way there, I said, "Yeah, they probably went 150 yards." That was the one time that they were exact. It was 350 yards, and there was toilet paper on every drop of blood.
Wow.
Deer tracking dogs love sharing of information. We're glad that everyone appreciates what we're doing. TR Pate, we have a book we made of hair from all over. We have that as well. We have some key rings made up that shows the different types of blood and the hair. So, Ralph, they can order those through you, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll have them at the seminar. We can ship them out. We will be working on a website here shortly. Michael Pritz Jr., the biggest problem I found, nobody has pictures of blood or arrow, and we track lots of WMAs, and they always walk back to the truck before calling, and I tell every hunter to take pictures of any sign. Yeah, and Michael, that will correct itself the more you educate those hunters in that area. I'm excited for 2024. Thank you all for y'all do. Kenny Frost, long white hair don't necessarily mean it was hit back. I've seen it multiple times, and the hit was nowhere near the gut. I'm thinking from the mule kick. And they can still hear us, so I'm just going to keep going forward. I know the camera's getting hot. It's a little warm in here, and we've been going for an hour and 26 minutes. Kenny, in this case, that was not the case because there was actually meat and skin still on there, and the length of that hair was 100% far back. But I do get where you're coming from. Awesome advice. Can't wait to start. Joining this network was one of the best things I've done. Corey Gamble. Corey's turned out to be a great one. Yeah. And Corey comes and works with John and I, and he's got some phenomenal dogs. And excellent at networking. You know, just and he went through this process. He's done great. Yeah, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for the shout out. Kenny, I'll reach out to you, get Jason's contact information. No problem, Cameron. Who's in the red shirt talking?
Is that you? Is this red?
I guess that's me. Kenny Mullins. Kenny Mullins Dog Training. Yep, thank you. Randy Vic Water, yes. I wear leggings, Carrie Patterson. I wear leggings a lot of times and fall at least once almost every track. I do the same thing. I wear leggings and I fall too. Corey Griner, I'm in the only one with a gun on the track. First thing I tell Hunter, I do not blame you one bit. Something to add, Kayla said a knife, but a knife with a...
Yeah, a knife with a hilt.
A knife with a hilt on it, yep.
Not a pocket knife. Like a knife you're going to do something with.
Paul Kage, the ABTA is growing fast. Thank you, guys. Yes, it is, Paul. We have been overwhelmed with the amount of response. It's been amazing. Mm-hmm. It just tells you that it's been needed. And we appreciate the support. We would not be able to do this stuff without you guys. When harnessing up the dog, he shakes his head and air sense then starts working. Is he clearing his nasal passage to get ready to work, or is it related to stress? I wouldn't say stress, and I don't think he's shaking his head. I think it's excitement. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kenny, for getting me and my son involved. Can't wait to see what we do this year. I'm excited to see it as well, Kyle.
See the one with the Bluetooth?
Yes. After air sending, dog puts his head down to work. Carrie Patterson, when I say spoil, I'm talking about from the time the deer dies. I always tell them the deer is going to take longer to die, so the deer has to, so a deer's body temperature is 101 degrees. Mm-hmm. So that deer has to cool down to ambient temperature. The meat has to cool down, the internal temperature, and then it has to rise again before it spoils. So it takes a long time. Link for keychain. Contact Ralph. Email Ralph. It's ralph@americanbloodtrackers.org. Ralph, sorry, not Kenny anymore. Ralph is sorry. No. I know what you meant. Keychain would be great, Brian Paul. Well, you guys show up to the seminar. Ralph will make sure he has plenty of them. And I know we lost video, but if anyone has any questions, we'll continue to go to answer them. Otherwise, we'll start wrapping things up. Do you have anything you want to add, Kayla?
I will say the mentor program has been great for me. I've learned a lot. I still have a lot to learn. If anyone's interested in, even if it's not necessarily tracking for the public, but just tracking for their friends, family, and maybe the club they belong to, it's not a terrible idea to get paired up with somebody who's a veteran tracker, who's themselves and their dog have hours, hundreds, thousands of hours of experience that they could just help you be able to be a better handler, and with you and your dog. And it's not a terrible idea. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to Jason, right? Byer?
Yes, Jason Byer. For Florida.
For Florida. I mean, yep. And then and go to the seminar. I mean, we went to our first seminar in July of last year. We had already trained our dog, but it was the first seminar, meeting the people in the community. And then whenever we saw the tracks come through on the actual Facebook group, I could associate those people with people I had met. And just the community. It's been more than just a tracking community. I've gained friends as well. So,
That's right.
And I'm excited about being a part of it and growing more. So that's anybody's interested, please reach out to Jason and Kenny and Ralph as well.
Yeah, and Randy commented, said he likes to get a kid to match up the hair and the keychain. involving those kids is great.
Mhm.
Nothing better. And Chuck Darby says talking with a group of trackers on something is always better than guessing. Absolutely. And I encourage hunters to, if they have any doubt, call me. And I've walked a lot of hunters through finding their deer. And I know you have. Deer tracking dogs. I wear leather gloves and a hard hat with face shield. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I used to wear the what do you call them, like this metal screen mesh glasses, safety glasses, because sticks getting in the eyes. I don't track at night anymore. Not often. I will. Don't get me wrong, but I prefer to put it off to the next morning. I'm just getting old and I fall asleep. And speaking of that, I almost forgot. What's his name? Golly, Jeremy Kiefer.
Yeah.
He commented that he'd like for us to talk about being able to talk with a fellow tracker to stay awake, for them to help them stay awake to get home.
Yeah.
Ralph, you've called me late at night. I've called you late at night.
Me and Jason, one of us will get home and keep on the phone till the other guy gets home, because sometimes these 4 or 5 daylight, Jason Altman, he had to drive home one night because it was already daylight and I was done. I mean, it was just talking and interacting with them. It could help you. I mean,
yes,
literally could help save somebody's life, because I have ran off the road. I have done things that hope my wife don't hear. Things that it gets tough. So yeah, having that extra voice in your ear, like he's talking about. I've had this. They were talking about it on one of the posts, and talking about I had to stop an hour. I have stopped 20 minutes from my house and pulled over to just take a nap quick. I could not keep my eyes open any further. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Brandy will tell you. Brandy has been by my side sleeping in truck stops, sides of the roads, parking lots, Walmart parking lots, gas stations.
And we all run into this. If you track enough, you will run into that. So get you some people you can talk to.
Yeah, I went tracking one weekend, and we started I left my house at 6 in. I got home. That was on a Saturday. Mind you, I tracked pretty much all. I started tracking at 5 o'clock in the evening Friday night. I got home at 4 in Saturday morning. Then I got up. I had 2 hours sleep. Got up at 6 in. I didn't get back home until 8 o'clock Sunday night. I don't do that anymore. I'm not that hardcore anymore. I still, I'll still track, but
I've had to call Ralph for a track at 7 daylight. It was shot, and he hadn't been home. He had been tracking all night, and we were the last track before he went home. I mean, it's just, it's a commitment to the hunters, and it's what we do, and then we sleep during the day. But
I called Ralph it wasn't that long ago. I called in the middle of the night. He was sleeping. I said, "Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you up. I thought you were out tracking." He said, "No, I'm going to stay awake and I'm going to help you get home."
Yeah.
And I will do the same for anyone.
Yeah.
I don't care who it is, anyone.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to say, because talking about Jeremy, years ago, I don't know how long it's been, 7, 8 years ago, Lindsay and Jeremy were new into the tracking for the public scene. Lindsay, Jeremy Kiefer, Crystal Gainey. They were, I would have to say, they were probably the first quote unquote apprentices in the Florida Blood Trailing Network. And look at them now. They're a wealth of knowledge. They're willing to help anyone. I have spent so many hours on the phone with them, especially in the early years. Crystal would call me just about every track. I drove. In fact, that weekend, one of those weekends, I tracked for like 29 hours straight. I drove to Lindsay and Jeremy's house to to test dog, Justin Russell's dog Dozer, and we went there, and that was the first lines that I worked that Lindsay had laid. And let me tell you, she didn't cut no slack on those lines, those mock trails. It was something. I'll never forget all that.
Some of my latest nights have been with them.
Oh yeah. And I will tell you, they went duck hunting with me last week, and age is getting to us. Even them, they're younger, but they're like, yeah, I don't like to track as much at night either anymore. No. You know, let these eager young guys go out there, but
or stupid ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I want to touch on before we go, we talk about this mentorship and apprenticeship. And these people, they advance to the next phase or next stage, and they're in their second year of tracking. That second year seems to be when something happens, and I call it the second year syndrome. They become a lot of people become know-it-alls. They know everything. They forget where they came from. They forget the people that paved the way. They're less receptive to take advice. Don't be that person. There's no reason to be that person. Yeah. And it does. It always seems to happen the second year. And Ralph, you've watched it. Yeah. Yep. I don't see Kayla being that person because her husband's going to keep her in line. I've been working with him on shot caller training. Casey Helton, I have some experience tracking. What's it going to take, Kenny, for you to make a tracker out of me? Casey's got a cool little dog, little wiener dog. Randy Vick, I woke up at 2 a.m. running 35 mile an hour on the middle lane of I-75. I have been there.
Hold on a minute. I got to get back up there to Jason. That needs to stay with you.
Jason, you got to share it now.
I mean, come on. You see what happens to incriminating pictures with this one.
Huh? That was not me.
Just him? Really?
I haven't shared any yet.
Yeah. Chuck Darby, I left one morning at 7 a.m. and got back to the house at 2 a.m. Oh, yeah. Many days have done that. Carrie Patterson, I've been doing it quite some time and still learning. We're always learning. Carrie's another one. She may not want me sharing this, but Carrie and I, we've had our differences in the past, and the last year, 2 years, Carrie has noticed what we've done and how a lot of people didn't understand the direction we were heading in, and a lot of that I would say is my fault, or our admin team's fault.
Your fault.
Yeah, my fault. We didn't do a good job of explaining why we were doing what we were doing, but Carrie messaged me the other day and she said, I'm so glad that we have this program in place. Mm-hmm. And Carrie has came a long way. Carrie, her and I, we bounce stuff back and forth all the time.
She's going to be a good judge, too.
Oh, excellent judge. Excellent judge. She said, I'm 110% for the way things are done. And she was one of those, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Carrie, she was one of those that questioned what we were doing and wasn't sure that it was the right moves. And again, I'll take blame for that. I mean, I could have done a better job of explaining why we were doing what we were doing. But it is what it is, and now we're out here educating, and hopefully we're going to help some of these other groups and trackers and get it done. And so
do you tracking dogs?
I do. That's
Yep.
That's Mr. Brad. Hi.
It is
Mr. Daddy to the dog.
I cannot wait. 2 or 3 more weeks.
So have you chosen a name?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's going to be Sophie.
Sophie?
Yes.
She's got her a teckle coming.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So things were started between us by outside people. I'm glad we were able to work things out and glad to have you as a friend. Feelings mutual, Carrie, and like Ralph said, she's going to be an awesome judge.
Oh yeah, I
You
enjoyed
know,
it. I haven't
yeah,
been with her much because she lives on the other side of the world,
but we did spend a few hours
yeah.
with her, and man, she's on point.
Oh, that's Paul.
Y'all ever throw a GoPro on one of the dogs during a track for fun?
Yes,
It's
and let
hard.
me know if you can keep the camera on them because I can't.
So Paul, look up Brandon Stevens.
Yep.
Send Brandon Stevens a message. He's got some great GoPro footage that I'm sure he will private message you and share with. I have not had the pleasure of meeting Brandon yet, but I've seen some of his contact. We have some mutual friends, and I know he's a great tracker. And I actually asked him the other day what harness he's using because I haven't had any success, and I think it's more due to the terrain that I typically track in.
Terrain and like me with little dogs, they go under everything, so it
Yeah.
just knocks the heck out of the cameras, knocks them off, so they don't last long with me.
There was somebody that posted something the other day. I think I saw it was the last time they saw the deer.
That
was
Steve,
Brandon.
that's
Okay,
Brandon.
by
That
the
was Brandon's,
dog's
yep.
eyes, and they could tell the deer was clearly, still alive the way it was running. But that was a good thing to
yeah.
have. But I'm wondering, how do you keep it up there, perched the whole time, especially with limbs whacking it?
Yeah,
Who knows? I mean,
I've tried
I'd be
different
curious.
harnesses, and I haven't had any success with it. Brandon shared what harness he used. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, and hopefully he'll get on here and he'll share it. Or
Yeah.
Brandon, if you're listening to this, or Carrie, if you'll message him and ask him to come on here and share a link on the comments section. So Kyle, I have had awesome results putting my GoPro on the collar. Kyle, would you mind sharing that with us? A lot of people would be interested. I will say this: if it's anything like a shot cam on a shotgun, watch that in private before you show anyone. Your dog might be doing something you don't want to see. But there we go.
there's his
Outdoor
link.
dog supply.
Harness for.
Yes, that is the one he sent me.
Dispatch.
Thank you, Carrie.
Okay, awesome.
And like I said, I've tried a couple of them, and
The ones I've tried have the elastic strap, and it
Right.
didn't work well.
right. Outdoor Dog Supply doesn't sell it anymore, but you can find it in similar ones on Google. I'll look that up because even just training wise, and
Yeah.
seeing it from a dog's perspective, that's pretty neat. I'd love to see this. If you can PM, please post a link if you don't mind, Kyle. Kyle's a great tracker. I've spent some time on the phone with Kyle and messages. So, if you have anything else, Ralph?
No.
Is there any last minute questions you guys
I have
have?
some other stuff, but we could just be on here for hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. It will tell me on this other screen. We've been on for an hour and 45 minutes. This has
Man,
been.
You talk a lot, Caleb.
Maybe it's that opening picture that.
Okay. I keep going back to that picture. Don't you? I need
posted
some
it first.
incriminating stuff against Kenny. Come on.
There is nothing.
Okay. I'll find it.
No, because I put it all out. I rag on myself too much. Remind
Testing and
people about
membership.
testing and membership. Yes, we need to do that. So, Ralph, why should someone test their dog?
Well, we started testing in all these questions about the off season. It is a great way to keep in communication with everybody. We have a blast at the seminars. We have a blast at the testing events. I mean, we traveled around last year. That's one aspect. The other is, at some point, other states have went to certifications, and we're not there. We would rather it not be that way, but we want to be ready so when it does hit, if it hits, we're ready. And crossing state lines, you know, you could have one state that requires it and the other state not, so you got to have certified dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's, plus you learn a lot about your dogs on this stuff, because you don't just take them and do it. You've got to practice, and especially our certifications, you're not going to just show up and wing it. We've made sure of that. This is not one of them. So you have
Right.
got to spend time in the field with your dog. You've got to know what you're doing, and all in all, to me, it makes you a better tracker.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's a short version, but it's, and you just have a blast.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of, as the tracking season started winding down, getting tired and just wore out, that kind of kept us going. Now we're full steam, cannot wait to go to start testing and certifying the dogs.
That's right.
So it just kind of keeps it going.
And not just that. I mean, the way our system is developed, the system has been designed to develop and progress the handler.
Yep.
Because I won't throw his name out there, but I was having a conversation with another. That's a really good video.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone that tested a dog in Alabama last year, and I was the apprentice judge on that line, and we were talking about it, and he said, you know, he read over our procedures and he talked to me about them. He said, you know, I really didn't know what I was doing. I'll admit I was inexperienced handler. He said, I passed that second level test because I had a dog that could do it. He said, I didn't know. He said, and I like the handler aspects that you guys have put in place. And because it's designed, every stage of our testing platform is designed to progress you to the next level as a handler.
Stop right there. That's also why you have to go in order, is because
Yep.
every test doesn't have the same characteristics. So you've got to get them all to where you're actually a certified handler through this. You've got to go through all three tests to get all three of the characteristics that we've put into everything. And so we try not to duplicate them on each level. So you got to go through them all. And
Right.
so that's why we've set it up that way.
That's right.
And most of it was geared towards the handler.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because like we said, more often than not, the problem is the handler, not the dog.
Mm-hmm.
I see it a lot through training. You know, we can train these dogs and they will just nail it and be spot on, and then they go to the handler and the handler doesn't know what to do. Especially ones that don't come and work with us, and we want them to. They always end up coming back at some point. So it's the same with this testing process. Anyone could take one of my dogs and pass every one of these tests. All they have to do is follow that dog. And it's not because I have great dogs or anything. It's because I've worked those dogs, and those dogs, you know, they know what to do. So Chuck says, how hard is it going to be to get a dog that hasn't ran a mock track in years that tracks deer really well to pass the test? This is something that I struggled with early on. You know, I was one of those people that said my dog won't take a mock track anymore. Your dog will, if you work it. And sometimes they don't like it, but if you keep on, just stay consistent, don't give up on them, just put it out there and ask them to do it, and just, if you have to coach them along the way, they will do it. They want to please you. And that's key to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any benefit to testing both on and off lead?
Yes.
Yes. And I will tell you this, even if you're in a state that doesn't allow off lead tracking, you will learn stuff working your dog off lead that will better you as a handler, especially with the trust factor of your dog. And you will learn different things on how your dogs work. Sometimes I get frustrated. I'm having to use a lead, and my dog's just circling zigzag. I'm like, my God, I'm tired of this thing is tangling all up in the trees and the vines and this and that. And I'm getting frustrated, but there's a reason the dog's doing what it's doing. And you can really learn that by working that dog off lead on mock tracks. And we are willing to test off lead even in the states that may not allow off lead tracking, because we're not pursuing a deer. It's nothing but training. And that's what our testing is a training, and as long as we have landowner permission to have that dog off lead. So yes, there is definitely a benefit.
But in certain states, you can be off lead, but got to be on lead in the management areas.
Right.
So there are times that I've always got a lead with me, just in case we get a call during the day and we got to go to a management area, even though we're supposed to be on lead. Most people, and we just been to a FWC event this week. It ain't the on lead, off lead, it's the control of your dog.
Right.
And so these game wardens, they are looking, they know.
Oh, they watch our page like a hawk.
Way more than we think they know. Every game warden I've talked to this weekend follow us. Not me, but follow the group. And
Absolutely.
They know.
Oh yeah.
And they're watching, and they know, they keep up. They enjoy it too. All of them are hunters. And so they just enjoy it.
Well, we had a game warden this year. There was an incident that happened where these guys turned out, they dumped a box of dogs on a deer in a wildlife management area that was shot. They ran it till those dogs got tired. They dumped another box out, another box out, another box out, until they just ran that deer down to the point it just couldn't keep up. And the dogs caught it, and they killed the deer. And these quote unquote trackers admitted to this on body camera footage. The game warden told me the first thing he did was went to our group and looked on our list to see if they were listed as trackers, and they weren't.
Yeah.
There was one person that was at their camp that was listed, but he was not involved and had no clue what was going on. And the game warden said, hey, this person does have a past, but since he's became or entered into your mentorship program, he said every officer in the area has seen a tremendous turnaround in him, and he's abiding by the laws, he's respectful, and he's not doing the things he was doing before. And this officer said, I call him and refer him to tracks all the time.
Yep.
He said what you guys have done has really made an impact on his life. That was eye-opening to me.
Carrie,
awesome.
I agree with you about the FWC officers. Get to know them to where they know who you are, how you act, how your dogs act, and like you said, invite them. I do it
Absolutely.
all the time. Next thing you know, they're just not worried about you, and they know you're going to do good, and that's all they want. And it makes a big difference.
I will attest to that. I went on a track with Kim Long in Camp Lanning, and we asked the FWC officer if we could send our dogs out off lead because they behave best and they track best off lead, and you're not supposed to in Florida, but he said it was okay. And he was with us, and he said if we could tone it back, then it was fine. And then the next morning, the same FWC officer, you and I had went on a track and met the next morning, and he recognized me, and he immediately was like, yeah, you guys are fine. Go ahead and go in. You're off lead.
And I've done the
And
same
we did
thing
that.
with that same officer.
Just
Yeah.
don't
He knew who I
assume.
was. Oh yeah.
No.
Just don't assume that means you can do it the next time. You
No,
visit
we
the
have
same
permission.
officer.
We have permission,
talked
and
to
we
him,
had a
and
conversation.
Every time he knew knew
Yep.
my dogs, and he knew her, and he's like, we're good to go.
But there may be a situation where one day he can't grant
Right.
that permission, so make sure
doubt.
every time you
Yeah.
ask.
Correct.
Um, Yeah, so we've talked about the Stockton event. February 17th is the date of the seminar. We will have testing on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. But it's very limited on the 17th.
Right.
Because
we want all the judges to be able to attend the seminar, and we're holding it in, we're going to have locations here shortly, but they're about 10 minutes apart. Where we're going to be testing versus where we're going to hold the event or hold the seminar. So it's going to be real nice, great locations, great venues, and we're going to have some more of these live events like tonight. Also, we're going to have quite a few more before the event. So.
Tuesdays seem to be a good
Yeah.
a good day. So we have that one. The very next weekend, we are going to Louisiana.
Yep.
And Randall Duvall Catahoulas is hosting a seminar. It's already filled up.
Yep.
As far as the seminar side. He does have opportunity for testing. So if you're in that area, maybe Mississippi, maybe some in Alabama, maybe some in Louisiana, get with Randall and he will get you squared away on the testing there. Then the next one after that will be Lindsay and Crystal's event in the Panhandle, Florida.
Right. I think that's the first week.
That's the first weekend of March. Then we have one the first weekend in May in Alabama at the Cattle Ranch. Paul has hosted that one for years, and we will be at that one. We will be putting on that event with Paul. And then the following weekend, Brandy and Chuck Darby is hosting an event in Mississippi. And I've spoke with Brandy, and they have a lot of room. We have plenty of room for testing. They have opportunities for testing. They're going to have a seminar there. Definitely get with them. One thing I want to say, we've had a question about, can people test on multiple levels in the same weekend? I will say this, like Ralph said, you have to pass one to move on to the next one. If you feel confident that your dog can do that, we can do it. We can. We can test them. Michaela Miller, Alex Hood, they brought a dog to test, and she was confident. She told me, she said, "Hey, I'm coming this date. I want to test this. I want to run the started test off lead, and right behind it, I want to run the season, and we're going to pass both." I said, "Okay, if you feel confident, we'll do it." And she did. So you can do that. It's not, and same thing with any of these events, you're not limited to just the started test, but you have to go in order. And the reason for that is, like Ralph said, the handler aspect of it, the handler certification. Do you have times and location for Stockton yet? Ralph, we need to get that location out.
Yeah.
A lot of people's been asking for that.
Yeah.
I believe that the seminar we're planning on starting at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. We got to get with Stacy about the schedule on the
testing. Yeah, if you are going to test, please email Stacy, testing@americanbloodtrackers.org. Schedule your testing. We ask that you go ahead and pre-register. Well, you have to pre-register so that we know that we can schedule enough judges for the test. Go ahead and get that your payment in for that, and then pre-register for the seminar. We need to get that taken care of so we can make plans. I've spoken to a lot of people that, I need to do that. I need to do that. Please get it in. We have limited availability on testing, especially Saturday. So if the only day you can make it is Saturday, and you want to test on Saturday, you need to get it done now. As far as location,
they're filling up. I mean,
As
it's
far as location, can you give a crossroad?
the nearest crossroad for the testing is 129 and 84 in Stockton, Georgia. It's a little, probably 5 minutes away from that intersection. But we'll have,
And same thing with the seminar. It's about 5 minutes from that
yeah,
intersection
and then
as
back
well.
towards Homerville from that is in a little town or a little settlement called DuPont. And I do not know the crossroad there. Well, there isn't a crossroad.
There
it's just a
isn't,
dirt
but it's
road,
within
but
5 minutes.
But it's pretty close to that. Valdosta is going to be your nearest lodging, and 84 is the road that takes you to Valdosta. So the motels along that road will be the closest.
Okay, so Jason Bell just sent me a pin. Let me pull it up.
We'll get it out there.
Old Stockton Road. Is what it's showing here. Anyways, we'll get it out there, and you know we apologize for not having that already. We've all been just working a ton of hours. Tommy, I got in late. Any update on snake training being anywhere else beside Georgia? Honestly, Tommy, we do not have it planned yet. I did speak with the snake guys today, Todd and Richard Beavis. I spoke with Richard. They are going to be in Stockton.
Cool.
We do not know yet if it's going to be 1 day or 2 days. I'm hoping to have them there 2 days. We do not have a price yet, but everyone I've talked to said that they did phenomenal. They were happy with the results. Randy Vick said they're the best he's experienced. So that says a lot. Chuck Darby, how about testing multiple dogs at one test time? Absolutely. Not a problem.
As long as we have you on the schedule, as long as we got enough judges, it don't matter how many.
We have supplies and we'll travel.
Oh, yeah.
I had a message come in, and it was someone from a different state interested in the mentorship program. And you know, this is I'm winging this, and you may not like me doing this right now.
That's all you ever do is wing it.
I know. But I think that it would really be great if we have some members within the American Blood Trackers Association willing to mentor these people, even if they're in another state. And if any of you are willing to do that, please let us know, because there's people out there that need it. And a lot of this is done over the phone, videos, pictures. I'm definitely willing to help anyone.
And anybody out of state, we pretty well know where everybody lives.
Right.
And you let us know where you need help, and we'll try to hook you up with the people nearest you, because we've got great trackers all over the whole Southeast that we know of.
Even before, I believe, I just glanced real quick. I may be wrong. I believe she was from Michigan. We have a candidate right now that's in our judging program from Michigan that I know will gladly help, and will get you in the right direction. So we will get you help. But if there isn't someone, one of us is going to help.
Oh, yeah. That's easy.
So thankful for Kenny Frost and his help. Yeah, Kenny's good people. I don't know about his wife sometimes, but you know. No. So Stacy Frost is our testing coordinator, and Stacy's doing a phenomenal job. New to this, where are y'all from? I live in Perry, Florida. Ralph?
I live in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yep, and I'm in Fleming Island, Florida, Clay County. We pretty much track southeast Georgia, northeast Florida.
I track South Georgia, North Florida, Central Florida, Alabama.
You're in that area.
Yeah, I have tracked all over the place.
State area.
We'll travel.
Absolutely. Yeah, my wife will tell you, we were out to dinner one night. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and I got a call to track a deer. or someone looking for a tracker in Alabama, and it was the peak of the rut. Everyone was tied up. No one could get to him. I called everyone, and I said, I'm on my way. By the time we got that deer and got back home, it was, she said 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, we even took the deer to the processor for the guy. He was from Madison, Florida.
Wow.
So we brought him back home. His brother had to leave him because his brother's a preacher and had to be at church the next morning. So we drove him back home, dropped his deer off at the processor for him at 7:30 in the morning. Then we headed home, another half-hour drive.
So where's Tommy from? Tell us where you're from.
Tommy, where are you from?
He says we have Southeast covered, but yes and no. There's plenty of tracks to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing we talked about there being a judge candidate in Michigan. We have some in Pennsylvania, Ohio, I think 2 in Ohio, West Virginia, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia. It's growing. Maryland. I forgot about Maryland.
Wow.
Yeah, it's spreading like wildfire. Thank goodness we've needed this. How about a mentorship that would allow us to come track with them with our dogs?
Bring it on.
Absolutely, Tommy. That's I don't know that that's ever been an issue. Especially in Florida, if you are having an issue with that, please reach out to Jason. I will say this though, sometimes the mentors may see something that you don't, and they may be asking you to come along because they think that you could learn something by watching them and how they handle things as a handler. So keep an open mind with that. I'm not saying that's the case with you. I just want to put that out there. Cairo, a little over an hour west of Stockton. Ooh, Tommy, I have tracked all over that area. Myself, Randy Vick. Ooh,
He'd be great to come to the event.
You need to give
Yes.
Jason Bell. He lives in Homerville. He would love to have you come track with him.
Yeah. Yep. Just making sure. So, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think we covered a lot.
Yep.
I'd agree.
You have anything else?
Thank Kayla for coming.
No. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could share, and appreciate what you guys are doing a lot.
Just getting that picture on there was worth it for me.
Thanks, Daniel. You're welcome.
All right, thanks everyone. We appreciate the support, and we will see you soon.
Next Tuesday.
Oh, can we create a list or have people offer when season gets here? Offers dry up. I don't know that offers ever dry up, and if they do, just reach out, Tommy. Sometimes you just have to grab the bull by the horns. But we appreciate everything, and we are hopping off, and we will join in on the chat when we can. If you guys have anything, keep it coming.